I will be talking about language, and we'll tell you a few things about it, but I'm not going to do a linguistics talk because this is neither the time nor the place for it. But the idea of a language that failed comes from a paper by a scholar called Austin, writing about Soviet Karelian and linguistic construction. Karelian is a version of Finnish spoken on the Soviet side of the Finnish-Soviet border. And the idea was that for Korean theater, where they were doing a new play about the 1937 deportation, where they were all put on trains and shipped to Central Asia, and it was called Transit, a sort of really radical, you could never have done this during the Soviet Union. Very exciting. I'm sitting in the audience. The curtain goes up, the lights go on, and suddenly everybody in the audience is full of Koryo Saram. Put on earphones to listen to the play, which is being performed in Korean, to listen to the translation, because they don't speak Korean anymore, which is sort of one of the legacies of 1937. Essentially, I'll stop by saying that the fact that the languages were able to split in this way, or to begin to split in this way, was actually a result, in a way, of Japanese colonialism, which helped push the Koreans up into Korea anyway, and because of the Japanese, there was no standard language which allowed for this divergence. And the fact that now, today, many Soviet Koreans, many Koryo Saram do not speak Koryo anymore, is probably, we must say, is a consequence of Soviet policy to a large extent. I'll stop there. Thank you very much. I apologize for going over slightly. So, do we want to do Q&A for 5 minutes? We have time?
Let's do 5 minutes Q&A, and then we'll do the last
yes,
one.
so just quick. So just for if anybody has a burning question, we have 5 minutes for Q&A, and then we can do more Q&A. The self-designation Koryo Saram shows up in the very earliest Russian sources from the 1860s already. And so we have to assume that the Koreans in the very far northeast of Korea used that traditionally as a self-designation. And of course, Koryo is one of the names of one of the ancient kingdoms before Chosun. The other thing is that the other word you find a lot in the sources, in the early Russian sources from the 1860s, 70s, 90s, is some of the Russian sources called the Koreans Gaoli, which of course is the Mandarin Chinese pronunciation of Koryo. So that the Chinese in that region also called the Koreans Koryo. So it's an old, it seems to be a very old ethnonym in that part of Korea. Scott?
Is that a result, following on this, is that a result of sort of like just being so far in the provinces, let's say the Chosun identity push that far up?
It's entirely possible. This part of Korea, the very far northeast of Korea, was always a backwater. Sort of politically, it was not well connected to the political center. I mean, all of North Korea was in some ways discriminated against during Chosun, and there's lots of research about how Pyongyang and Pyeongan province, the northwest, were discriminated against. But interestingly, no one even talks about Hamgyong, really, when talking about the Chosun dynasty. It was just considered to be kind of the boondocks, really far away, really hard to get to, all mountains, and so on. So quite possible. But I would leave that kind of research to Don Baker, who knows more about it. So let's ask. We'll go for the little boy. Did you have a question? No. Oh, I thought you were going to ask a question. Okay, go ahead.
So what was the official rationale in 1937 for moving Koreans out of that region?
The official rationale was for state security reasons, and it was feared that there were pro-Japanese spies hiding amongst the Koreans in the Russian Far East. Was the official reason, and Gherman has written a really excellent paper showing, though, how proposals to deport the Koreans had been floating around for many years before that.